There we go. Go ahead.
All right. So to the recording, happy Black History Month. So today we are holding our CEO Black History Month panel, and we're going to be talking with some Black professionals, Black business people, and really getting their insight on their lives, their businesses, and whatever else comes up in the conversation. So I'll just go through a little quick. I'm gonna do a quick one-line introduction, and I'll allow each of the panel members to introduce themselves further. So, so first, just on the list, there's no order, but we have Larry Goodin, who is co-founder and president of Student Entrepreneur, and serves as a global AFS professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University. So, if Larry, you want to say hello, quick little tidbit, and then we'll move on to the next panelist.
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, again, happy Black History Month. And to the student leaders who put today's venue on, I really would like to start by saying congratulations. I know you had to pivot a bit due to the snowstorm, the blizzard. So congratulations on that. And in short, I guess I always say three ways to describe me: future minded, a global educator. I really, really, really value global entrepreneurship, innovation, tech, et cetera. And in terms of academia, I lecture managerial finance, creativity and innovation, entrepreneurship, and also series 1001 and 1002, which are all core classes for freshmen. It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Next, we have Georgie-Ann. Georgie-Ann Getton is a NYC-based business operations and automations expert and the CEO of GSD Solutions. Georgie-Ann, if you want to say a little bit more.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. A proud Baruch alum, a two-time alum, actually. I went to Baruch for both undergrad and grad school. So excited to be back and love supporting Baruch. But as Taye said, I am an entrepreneur. I've actually started my not my very first, but one of my first accelerated businesses. I'll say that at Baruch, I was a part of what they used to call it was like Center for Student Entrepreneurship, CSC program, but now it's like CUNY Startups. So seeing how that's grown and just how the Lawrence Field Center has been like super helpful to students. So I'm excited to be back and happy to share and can't wait to dive into this conversation.
Cool. Thank you, Georgie-Ann, for a little intro. Next, we got Joel. Joel Ramirez. He is the entrepreneur and CEO of 49 Archive. And we're happy to have him. Joel, can you say what's up?
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Joel Ramirez. I also go by 49. I'm re just graduated, just now an alum of Baruch College. I'm so happy and happy to give back to my community. I love this entrepreneurship center and everything that it stands for. So they have helped me with my business, and now as a recent alum, I'm able to continue further and provide knowledge from what I've learned. So I'm excited to be here and happy Black History Month.
Thank you, Joel. And last but not least, we have Michelle Cadore, who's a social impact entrepreneur, cultural strategist, and founder of The Spot NYC. If you'd like to say one more thing, Michelle.
Yes, hi everyone. Happy Black History Month again. It's a pleasure to be back with you all. Again, I am a Baruch alumna, and I definitely was reminded of my love for entrepreneurship while there. I was a finance major first and switched over right before graduation to management, small business entrepreneurship and management. So I'm happy to be back, excuse me, and lend my voice and just share with you all aspiring entrepreneurs. A beautiful world. You'll love it.
All right. Thank you to all the panelists. All right. So I'll segue into our very first question. Just a little bit of a fun fact question, just to make sure you get a little bit to let the watchers get to know you a little bit more. So, what is one fun fact or interest that you have? Anyone can speak up. It's up to you guys.
I'll jump in. One fun fact slash interest is I love pineapples on pizza. I hope I'm not attacked by that. And I just think sweet and savory belong together. I see a few thumbs up. Yes, you are in community. But just trying new is another not so funny fact is that I just love problem solving. And I think being a Baruch student, I really got to do that. And I know sometimes going to a CUNY school can feel like not as open as some of your friends that went away for college, but I think like it gave me a lot of playing ground to like try different things. And so I just always like shout out and like celebrate CUNY. And I'm just like, I'm happy I stayed instead of going somewhere else. So those are my fun little facts.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
I'll share. One of my fun facts is that I am an avid traveler. I love to explore new cultures and locations. And while at Baruch, I had the opportunity to travel to South Korea with Financiers Without Borders, which was an amazing experience over the winter break. And I definitely, look forward. My next trip is headed to Cartagena in April. So I'm just trying to keep, myself out of the snow and busy, but that's my fun fact.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. Similar to Michelle, avid traveler as well. Over 27 countries visited, and I would have to say, if I had to do any country 3 or 4 times, it would definitely be Shanghai, China. It's very high on my list. Followed by Accra, Ghana. I really enjoy just traveling, meeting new people, learning about various cultures, their way of living, foods, of course, and most importantly, the educational systems in other countries. Being able to compare and contrast as as an academic, and also I love dogs, man. I ever since I was a kid, I have I can whenever walking the pounding the pavement in New York City. I can verbatim is like a gift. I can look at a dog and if I can't figure out what it's mixed with, I can figure out one of the mixtures in the breed. So big dog lover, cane corsos and the chow chow, my top two.
Uh,
Absolutely. Thank you all.
yeah, that was amazing. I have a child child, so the fact that you said that warms my heart. For me, my fun fact actually was most of my life I actually was a athlete. Like I didn't design, I didn't do anything in the creative or even thought about entrepreneurship. I was just an athlete my whole life. And then when I came to Baruch, it was kind of like Baruch kind of sparked my creativity for the amount of diversity it had in like different cultures, and it kind of like showed me different ways of living. Because I was a transfer student, I was in Buffalo, and coming to Baruch really opened my mind to like how Baruch can really like Baruch has so many different cultures and so many ways of way people go about life, and it kind of felt like I was traveling the world. Soon to be an avid traveler, but I was traveling the world like in Baruch with the amount of cultures I experienced. So yeah.
All right. Thank you all for sharing your fun facts and interests. Shout out to Love for Baruch. I'm happy everybody is in agreement there. So as for our next question, um, it would be, how would you all describe your business and slash profession, and what is your favorite part about it?
So I if you don't mind, I guess I can jump in and start. That's fine. So, it's a beautiful thing when you're able to do your parent job with your dream job, right? I always say when you marry the two, that's sort of your legacy. And for me, being able to have a position in higher ed, but also able to manifest that into a global think tank for young people, specifically kids, teenagers, and their parents, right? Because we live in a generation where tech education, there's a huge gap between what the kids are learning in school versus what the parents interpret and are able to understand at home. So for me, being a global like a global leader in the sense of education and at the helm of it, able to create e-learning curriculums, camps and design thinking workshops, et cetera, to teach the next generation, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, the importance of entrepreneurship, which growing up as a kid, for me, entrepreneurship was never something in reach. Although many of my grandparents were entrepreneurs, they didn't wear that quote unquote title. They were like lumberjacks or, like a hairstylist or a barber, et cetera. But those are all entrepreneurial paths. So teaching kids about the power of entrepreneurship, not just at the collegiate level, but also teaching them from 3rd to 12th grade. And I would also say, in parallel with that, just being able to use the concept or the course offerings of finance and connecting finance, I say the big three, the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement, et cetera, connecting that and Legoing that together in entrepreneurship to help students understand the concept of capital and funding versus the concept of actual turning an idea into a company. But there's so many different pieces that's in between the hyphen that students have to gain a better understanding, market analysis, pricing, et cetera. But using both higher ed and the entrepreneurial skill set to actually teach kids about entrepreneurship as a whole.
And I'll jump in.
You there?
I'll jump into piggyback.
No, you could go ahead.
Okay, piggyback off that in terms of the like my business started from my own passions as well in terms of like a love of entrepreneurship. So growing up, I was born in Jamaica, but mostly raised in the US. I've been here since I was 7, but in Jamaica, like everyone is an entrepreneur, right? The cook, the cleaning lady, everybody has like their own hustle, even if they have like a job or more standardized job. And so entrepreneurship has always looked good to me. And then I also saw the opportunity where it's like someone will start something and then be able to hire others and create opportunities. And that's what really attracted me the most, of creating something out of nothing and then helping to multiply that something that would help others. I've had multiple ventures, and now my current business, where we specialize in GSD Solutions, where we specialize in operations and technology consulting, was kind of born out of seeing a lot of these micro business owners that are, the mom and pop shops, the barbers, the hairdressers, etc., not being able to fully scale up in terms of revenue and systems and create opportunities for themselves or even create job opportunities for others. I would always be curious around like, why are their incomes so inconsistent? What's holding them back, and especially when I compared it to like the tech scene, the tech startup scene versus like the traditional entrepreneurship scene, I found that there is this huge like distance in between. And that's like the tech scene, they're getting billions of dollars for like a random thing. And it's like the person that I'm seeing as an entrepreneur on a day-to-day basis, they have so much skills and so much potential, but they're not getting even, a 10K loan. They're not getting a 100K loan, and that's holding them back. So I wanted to build this business to bridge the gap and say, what resources can we help like those micro and small business owners, and what systems can we help them put in place so that way they can get access to some of the resources, whether that be, building apps, using AI, leveraging automation, right, multiplying themselves and hence multiplying their income. Because oftentimes it would be like a little bit, whether that was like a cultural background that was an issue, or age, or just general awareness, right? Even my own experience, I grew up in the Bronx, and it wasn't until I moved to like Baldwin, Long Island, that I realized how much of a thriving tech and startup ecosystem New York City was. I'm like, wait, so I had to go from the Bronx to Long Island to get back to Manhattan? Like this is crazy. How are we not aware of these resources? And then I realized a lot of folks were not aware of how close these tools were, or even just how to use them, or what websites to go to, or what questions to ask. And I was like, okay, I think I want to solve that problem. That sounds exciting to me. And I've been doing that work ever since.
Sorry, I'll jump in if that's okay. So for me, entrepreneurship has always been in my heart. When I was about 10 years old, well, funny story. When I attended Baruch, I transferred to Baruch with the intention of studying finance. I had a non-traditional path in which I took 5 years off. I went to Hofstra first. I'm a Brooklyn Tech grad. 1 year at Hofstra, taking jazz classes, not really paying attention, underachiever. And then 5 years later, with $5 to my name, I did have some coins in my pocket back then, but $5 to my name, stock market crash. I had some investments at like 24. I decided to go back to school. And I first started with City Tech. And, I was like, I'm just keeping my head down as a stepping stone. I'm not trying to be here. Fell in love with the place, and then transferred to Baruch. I was a bit homesick for my first 3 months. And then I landed a position with JP Morgan, the chief investment office, because at the time, Joe Bonacor was the CFO and he was a Baruch alum. And he convinced Jamie Dimon to let Baruch students intern. And we were making $28 an hour full time. And I have two other jobs while going to Baruch full time, attending Baruch full time. And I'm working in this cubicle. And I hate it. I hated crunching numbers. I love money, but I hated crunching numbers in the cubicle all day. And so, I go through the process. I decide I'm not going to go forward with the job forward. I did the whole internship. Then comes the opportunity by a Brooklyn Tech grad, actually, for the South Korea opportunity, Finances Without Borders. We went to, we were in Busan, in Daegu. I'm sorry, we were in, what is it, Daegu Airport. We had a Daegu Airport hotel, and we are helping a biopesticide company figure out how to get into the American markets. And it is 4 a.m. We are in our hotel room. There's a jet outside with its lights blaring in, and we're drinking soju, eating wings, and I am on fire doing a PowerPoint for this, company. It's like, I love this. I love helping small businesses. This is my thing. So come back to Baruch now for senior year, final semester. And 2 months before graduation, I changed my major from finance to management, small business, and entrepreneurship. And I walk at graduation, I come back the next day and start my first class. And with that entrepreneurship class, Professor Holly, I don't know if she's still there, but she is one of the best. Um, we were tasked with coming up with a business idea. I pitched my idea. It was hangers for your for your space, share your style, what's in your closet. Because I'm a broke college student. I'm trying to figure out how to sell what's in my closet to make some money, right? And eBay was taking my little 20 cents, and I wasn't getting anything. So I said, no, it's not going to work. So did that. I pitched to the class. I had 3 people on my team. We pitched, and I asked for 150,000. They pledged 1.5 million. We won the class competition, right? This was a whole semester long. And it took 6 months, the last fall, I had 6 classes then. So 4 classes in summer, 6 classes in fall, graduated on time, landed a position with the Department of Small Business Services within 2 months of graduating. Because I'll tell you what, the city only hires Ivy Leaguers and Baruch students. I was very happy to know we were among the top. Right. And so I came in as a hurricane grant monitor, but my whole goal was to go to Deloitte. I wanted to work in Deloitte and do strategic operations because that was my favorite class, just focus on that. And the city, they were like, we love you. We want you to stay here and manage the on-the-job training program. And I'm like, I want to go to Deloitte. I want to be flown out. I want to have all the perks. You can't afford me. But I fell in love with the city. I stayed and I managed the on-the-job training program where we funded, it was a 50 million plus program where we funded small businesses to hire and train New York City residents. I did that for 3 years. And while there, I reached a glass ceiling in my career. And I said I can't see myself in a cubicle for the rest of my life. I started my first brand, Yes I Am. I actually had asked for a promotion. I was the only one managing my team. And the person, powers that be, and at the time said, well, okay, we'll see who else is interested. But I was doing the work for free anyway. So I said, oh, no, 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 no. So, there I am going home, tears out my eyes. And I'm like, I get splashed from head to toe. And someone gives me their napkin, what have you. But I said, you know what? It was a slap from the universe. I am who I say I am. I've done amazing things before. I'm going to do amazing things after. So I created a clothing brand called Yes I Am, designed to inspire and empower others, including myself. And 1 year later, that led to me opening up the Spot NYC, which is a retail space now in downtown Brooklyn. But we started in Dumbo in a 100 square foot space with just 3 brands in shop, small businesses. Within 6 months, we had within 6 months, we had 25 businesses. Within 2 years, we had 50 brands, small businesses. And now I'm in City Point in downtown Brooklyn. We've housed over 200 businesses, brands. We connect the entrepreneurs to economic access, visibility, creative community, and resources. So I take my background from SBS to support our community, and we really put on for the culture. So aside from that, I also started Cadore Advisory Group, in which I had the opportunity to work with Atlanta Hawks in 2024 to facilitate their Shoot Your Shot business pitch program. So teaching 30 entrepreneurs there how to build their pitch decks and get funding. And I've raised over 250,000 in funding for both my business and for my business mainly in grants and such. So this journey has not been, what I thought it would be, but it's exactly what it needed to be. Oh, you've been to my store. Thank you. But yeah, I encourage everyone to come visit. And I just really love supporting. The whole thing is I enjoy supporting small businesses, creating that platform for them. And I'm a businesswoman. Like I talk business all day. So, it's always about problem solving and how can we impact others. And that's what we do at the spot. We also do custom printing. So I print for Lululemon's, the Knicks, Sesame Street, Pfizer, and a lot more. And we use the space for creative workshops, business panels, and live events. So we have a big event coming up this Friday called The System Don't Work. And more like you'll see it if you look at my Instagram. We have like a tiny desk session and everything else. But it's all about creating space for the underserved to be able to showcase their work and to really grow and scale in entrepreneurship. I'm done. Sorry.
Oh, good, awesome. Joel?
Hello, my name is Joel Ramirez. I go by 49, recent alum from Baruch. My story into entrepreneurship was, I'm Dominican. Like my family, they came here for a better opportunity, and all of them just went into entrepreneurship right away. My father started a taxi business. My grandfather, he owned a warehouse that would ship from America to DR. And back in my great grandparents, actually, they were farmers. So a lot of entrepreneurship was like even like the title as a farmer wasn't considered, but if they're plowing, they're making the sugar canes, they're getting cutting the coconuts and all those things and providing it to the community. That was their way of entrepreneurship. So a lot of it was pretty much ingrained into me as growing up. And I really as I continued my journey, like I said, I started as an athlete, so I really didn't know what I really wanted. And then it actually took me to going to Buffalo for 3 years and being a football slash track athlete, seeing how this is not what I really wanted in my life. I don't know. I like working out, but this is not forever. So I continued to try different endeavors. Try to Amazon FBA. I tried to resell Supreme when I was around that time, and I just felt like it was my birthday actually when I was like, I'm selling other people's clothes. Why not make my own and showcase my creativity and my culture at the same time? So I was in Buffalo looking at my closet on my birthday, and then I was decided I'm making my own clothing brand. Like this just sits better with me. I'm an entrepreneur anyway, so might as well just keep it going. And so that's when it all started. And it was I realized I'm in Buffalo. I'm like, why go back? Why am I in Buffalo doing fashion? Like I gotta go back to New York. So I made that decision. I asked everybody, I asked people on student governments from all different CUNYs. And I asked my aunt, she's actually a Baruch alum as well. She owns El Malecón, a very famous Spanish restaurant here in Washington Heights, where I'm from. And I asked her, and she was like, "Yeah, you gotta go to Baruch. Baruch is amazing. You'll love it." She's been trying to get her kids to go to Baruch. They didn't go, and I was like, "All right, I'll go for you. Not like I'll go for you, but like I believe you. I trust you, Thea." So I went to Baruch, and one of the first people I actually met was Gary from the Entrepreneurship Center, and he was telling me like you got to come to the center, you'll love it. That's my major. It was my major originally, so he was like, yeah, you got to come to the center, you got to check it out. And Romy Kerr was telling me to go check it out, and he was my professor at the time, and he was telling me like, yeah, you got to go to Entrepreneurship Center. So I just went, and pretty much from there, my relationships with Marlene, Tay, Russ, Bruce CEO, Home Day Affair, even Bearcat Thrift, love them over there. They pretty much like helped me kind of gather my creativity and even give me opportunities to succeed. They have a sewing machine that I was allowed to use. Nobody else was allowed to use it. You had to go through a whole test. It was like a whole thing, and I even had to study, but I was allowed to use the sewing machine. And so I was just like making clothes right there as a student. I would just stay in the Baruch Entrepreneur Center all day, and I would just keep making clothes, keep designing, keep showcasing my creativity to see what they think, how I should maneuver. And like that's how like everything started to happen slowly but surely. Started doing little designs here and there, giving making tote bags, making sweaters, and like even learning like them teaching me A and B testing with SMS and emails. I had to learn that at first because I was just trying to do a big bulk order, and I'm not even testing the market and seeing how can who is my market or who I'm selling to ready for that. So that was like a very that was like entrepreneur center. Like I always give them. I say that's like my home. That's my family right there. So like I just graduated. So I just started this for real. Like this adult world they say. So I just started it. So I'm like really excited how well it's been going, and to end it all off, I even was able to do a collection with Baruch College. So I think that was like the most amazing part about it. I did a amazing collection with Baruch College. It was given out free for the students. They just paid me to do it, and that was really dope. And so I think even from that experience, Baruch Entrepreneurship Center has like been helping me all throughout the way, telling me like how to maneuver with dealing with contracts and dealing with just people in general and like getting more comfortable speaking. Thank you, Liva. So yeah, I think it's honestly been a great experience this entrepreneurship journey, and I've only just started, but I know that I always tell people like just believe and have faith. It takes time as well, so that's kind of like what that will be my journey, just faith and time, and I'm just started, so we're only up from here, honestly.
Absolutely. I love to hear all your stories about, where you've been, how you've gotten to where you've ended up being. Um, Honestly, Joel kind of touched on it, but I do want to highlight it a little bit because with my next question, it was more so about what inspired you to become an entrepreneur slash enter your profession slash, and then who were your early role models? So whatever portion of that question you want to attack, you can, because you guys kind of touched on it already. But if you do want to hit on a specific portion of that question, you get the space to do that.
Yeah, I'll jump in. For me, I think like because you asked about the inspiration. What was the other part of the question? Like,
Who were your early role models,
okay, role
essentially?
models. I would definitely say like my dad and my uncle were like the biggest role models specifically for entrepreneurship. Because they both were business owners and business owners in different areas. So when I was young, my dad was mainly a business owner in Jamaica, and he had like multiple stores, and he did like tech repair. And then my uncle was a real estate realtor. I forgot which one was like the realtor versus real estate agent, but like he owned the business, and he had like locations in Florida and the tri-state, New York, Philly, and different places. And I just thought of it was so cool of like, okay, they're creating opportunities not just for themselves but for others. And I saw them do a lot of training. And I think out of everything that they did, the training is what excited me the most, right? Like you have this skill and the ability to help someone else like gain this skill as well that could literally change their lives, whether they're working for you or working for somebody else. So those are definitely my earliest like role models. And then just like the inspiration overall was just seeing how much of a gap, because like using those two examples, I saw that there was a ceiling that they kind of hit when as technology started to increase, as things started getting digitized, folks were using websites, because when I was a kid and everything was like, okay, you got to go to the store and brick and mortar and like direct mail marketing. Like they were killing it. They were doing amazing. And as like the tide started to shift, and people wanted to get like Zoom meetings and or Skype, right? Skype was where it really started, and I saw this like pivot happening where these folks that I'm like, these are like the smartest people I know, and they have opportunities, and they're in my head they were rich, and I'm like, but they're stuck now. And as a kid, millennial kind of growing up in the tech scene, I'm like, but I know how to use these things. Like, how do they not know how to use these things? How are they not comfortable with these things? Like, how do they not know websites and apps? And I started like helping them with these items, and I'm like, oh, like there is like a speed and learning gap. And then I kind of slowly became the teacher. And I'm like, how many other business owners are in this same position? Before I started GSD Solutions, I had another business. It was called like Starter Pack, and like our main thing was like helping to transition businesses to becoming digital. Like, let's get you your website, your social media, your marketing page, and then like a digital strategy. Because I'm like, if I could, since I have these skills and I know these, hundreds, dozens of businesses and business owners that have great offerings, but they just don't have a Google page, right? I don't want you to lose an opportunity because you don't have a Google page. I know how to do that. That takes me 20 minutes. Like, here, you can pay me, I'll do it. We'll get you up to where you need to be. But I realized slowly that wasn't enough, right? And that's when I started my new business, GSD Solutions, where it was like a deeper psychology into it. So when I went back to Baruch the second time, my master's was in IO psychology, which stands for industrial and organizational psychology. And I like to just summarize it as like the psychology of business, like how people get motivated in the workforce and what makes people move, or intrinsic motivation, learning and development, just the psychology of work overall. And I was like, oh, there are so many factors that play into their adoption to these tools, their interest in these tools, or just like how can we motivate a person to change the habits and systems that they've been used to, that have always worked, have been tried and true for 10, 15 years. And then like now, there's a website available, and now you're losing 20, 30, 40% of your business. And you have no idea how to stop it, how to fix it, how to, bridge that gap. So, just really grateful that I could do this work and make change and help other businesses continue to grow and thrive.
Hey, thanks for sharing. And guys, I'll feel free to go ahead and jump in. When answering the question about the inspiration behind entrepreneurship, I think back to my HBCU undergraduate experience, where majority of my peers, my roommates, etc., we knew nothing about residual income. We were under the impression you have that one job, and that one job, that 9 to 5, is what pays the bills and helps you figure out this whole American dream. And I'll never forget, my grandmother called me one time. I was in the gym balling, and she told me that she had lost a home to a foreclosure, and that everyone would need to come home, and we have to move out, et cetera, et cetera. And that was probably the lowest point of my collegiate experience. And I remember going to the president at the time. He's my frat brother. He's a noob, and at the time it was President Clinton Bristow Jr. He said, listen, you can either allow this failure to define you, or you can allow this failure to give you an opportunity to adapt and bring new change in your life. So from that, I was able to go to Ghana. I built, part of my project there was building internet cafes for young street children who did not have access to education, internet. That was on the beginning cuff of internet. And what I learned from that was, sometimes on that entrepreneurial journey, there will be distractions, but you get to determine the amount of resilience that you will allow to impact your journey, that the unforeseeable journey that you know nothing about. I had no idea at that time that once I completed the exchange program in Ghana, when I returned, that same person who's also, he's one of the top 5 mentors in my life. I received a $10,000 stipend check for my contributions to the program, but also being one of those first generation college students that was also part of the process. So I was able to not only go and gain real world experience, launch an entrepreneurial endeavor in the tech field many years ago, but I was also able to gain earnings from the skills, the business skills and the tech skills that I acquired at an HBCU, I was able to monetize that. And from that is where I consistently focused on philanthropy, doing international projects, and figuring out ways to build allies with nonprofits and entrepreneurs like Michelle, and figuring out ways to create capacity building for not just myself and my company, but for others. And that's how you build the network. And before you look up, you're a globally recognized business or NGO. And that particular story always sits with me, because many entrepreneurs, we give up whenever we have that one disruption or that one major distraction. But that's a part of being a successful entrepreneur, is understanding how to pivot, and most importantly, being able to reach back into your wheelhouse and say, hey, you know what, I've been here before. The students was talking about his clothing brand and his parents being farmers, etc. At one point, that storytelling piece could be the difference in you actually reaching that bubble of manufacturers in China or India or South Korea who would be influenced by that story, and they're manufacturing your products in bulk. So I just wanted to give that as an example of my inspiration for entrepreneurship, and also role models. And I always say my students are my greatest role models, because they constantly teach you new things every single class. You learn something new and something rewarding from them.
I love that. I definitely look back at my inspiration being my family. So I'm also Caribbean. I'm first generation American. My parents are from Grenada and Guyana. My dad was born in Guyana, mom in Grenada. And I was having this discussion with my mom yesterday. I said, "What did your mom do?" I know her dad was an entrepreneur. He had like cane fields, and they used to call him 1 year millionaire. And my grandmother, she owned a bakery. My other grandmother and grandfather, they both owned a farm, and they would go to market and sell their vegetables, right? Now, my parents, they came to this country by way of traveling through England. My mom was a nurse for 40 something years. Dad, rest his soul, was a construction foreman. So he passed when I was 8. When I was a kid, we would go on Saturdays over to Church Avenue. We're going into Citibank to make deposits, but he would stop at this restaurant, Salt and Pepper. Lo and behold, years later, I found out they owned a building, right? And they owned 3 other buildings. So my parents, although they had traditional jobs, they were always entrepreneurs. They had their own, real estate empire that they were building. And I didn't realize that until I was older. Now, when I was at Baruch, that class that I had with Professor Holly, Intro to Entrepreneurship, she asked us, think about the first time you ever sold something to anybody, or when you fell in love with entrepreneurship. And I had to be jogged back to when I was 10 years old. And, I always loved the ice cream truck and finding pennies and putting money together to buy my little treats. So I had convinced my little friends on the block to help me sell lemonade on our one-way block, East 37th Street, between Foster and Farragut, to the passing cars. We're selling lemonade and old church books and toys. Okay. And we made a good $20 that day. And so I'm like, oh, wow, I really had entrepreneurship in me all this time. And as time progressed, I realized, with the South Korea trip and even working for small business services, I wasn't really thinking. I was trying to grow hangers, but I wasn't really thinking that I would go fully into entrepreneurship. There came a point in my career where, for one, I absolutely loved, while I was an OJT program manager, helping the small businesses. I'm there to make sure that they're training their workforce, but I'm also hearing about the gaps. And I'm like, oh, have you considered this? So I'm giving them free consultancy on the side, not even on the side, like during the job, just helping them problem solve. And I'm like, I love this, and I got to do whatever I wanted as the program manager, because I had no team. So it was pretty much like create your own world. But when it came to opening up the spot, and seeing how we're giving all of these small businesses an opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have. It's the people that inspire me because I've been in business for 10 years. I've had my store for 9 years. I've had my brand for 10. And there are days where I've gone through so much. I've gone through the pandemic, being closed for 6 months, economic downturns, loss of partners, two partner exits, unexpected when the market, when the economy went slow, became slow rather, and walking in and realizing that it's just me, and now I have to build up a real team and all the things. But the joy in it all has been knowing that I'm helping my community, right? Because every time someone walks into the door and they're like, "Is this Black owned? Is this you?" I'm like, "Yes, it is." Especially because it's Albee Square or City Point, which used to be Albee Square Mall, which was home to Black and brown businesses back in my day. And especially because I know how hard it is for small businesses to get into big box retail, right? We often don't have shelf space as much as everyone else. And then we get less than 2%, 1% of capital, in order to fund and raise our businesses. So we all are bootstrapping. I bootstrapped it with $500 to here, so every time that someone walks into my door, and they are inspired by the work that they see, or an entrepreneur comes to us like, I have this business, I have this idea, I have this brand, and now they're in multiple stores and they're flourishing. That is what keeps me going, knowing that I'm able to, with the spot, we are able to be a resource to our community and to help others thrive. It's not just, and I don't want to have just a spot in NYC. I want the spot Atlanta, the spot DC, the spot LA, Joburg, etc. You know, because we want to be able to help other underserved creatives in other cities be able to have this access to visibility and economic mobility and to really build legacy, right? It's all about, so what I missed was after I left the city, I became an assistant director for bedside restoration, where I still helped, the community get connected to employment with my team with the Jobs Plus program. But I also had a small business clinic there because thank you to Baruch, they inspired the business corner. So we used to meet with the professors on our off time. I don't know if you all still do that. You do, because now you have the entrepreneurship center that's so robust. But we used to meet with the professors all in a room, and it was like, I forgot it's like co-working, but we were just like freeballing, sharing our ideas and working through it, and it was so fun. So yeah, this is like, that's my inspiration, and it keeps me going. And I've been blessed to be honored by the federal government as the Small Business Administration as Minority Small Business Champion of the Year. And I've had some really great success in my career, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without the community. And we've served over 500 people, 200 in the store, but over 500 to maybe 1,000 by now within the community. So it's good work. And I can't wait to see your brand, Joelle. I really can't. And you mentioned Home Day Affair, and they are my girls. So I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, I definitely got to check your store out in Brooklyn, Michelle. I'm definitely that's on my to-do list for this week. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, Home Day Fair, those my peoples. Those my peoples. Yeah, my inspirations, Caribbean. We're Caribbean. You get it, Michelle. You get it, Georgie. We're Caribbean. Our family farmers coming here to America for a better opportunity. Um, so that was mainly most of my inspiration. Like I said, mo once my family got from DR, they came straight to work. Luckily we came to Washington Heights, which was full of Dominicans, so they were like able to stay in the community and able to help one another. So a lot of it was a lot of homegrown businesses like taxi businesses. My father and my grandfather was able to first start off as a super and then eventually buying a building. That was like his way into it, being a real estate empire. My aunt and a lot of my family members were helped her with her restaurant and like scaled that to being a now we have four restaurants all throughout Manhattan and the Bronx. So that was like that's what I saw growing up. And even yeah, Michelle, I want to go back to you again. You reminded me when you said you were 10 years old. I was in middle school. I remember I don't know, like in middle school, we love gum for some reason. Like we just love gum. So what I would do, we can't leave the house. I mean, sorry, we can't leave the building during school hours. So I will buy my mom would give me, I think, $5 or like for the week or something. I think she give me $20 for the week. I will use five of my dollars to buy gum. I will buy the 35-cent gums, the spearmint, the Laffy Taffy, I think that's what it was called. And I remember buying this the blue gum, the green gum, those 35-cent packets, and then I would go to school and I'll have a bunch of them and then I'll sell people a stick for 25 cents. Just to like keep my money going. Like it was like my first way of real entrepreneurship. And it really was just because I didn't want my mom to clock me and look at the money I have. Like I wanted my own money for some reason. So I remember doing that. And so that was like that really gave me like a really like I just remember that now, you just saying that. Um but it's just entrepreneurship has always been like a way of life. I think more and more I see more Caribbeans and like my brand, I'm getting more diving more into that as well. Like just showcasing my culture as we don't as I've noticed is like it's a small community, believe it or not, and we're not given the opportunity to embrace ourselves fully. So I think I've been doing that a lot more with clothing as I learn more. But definitely like my most of my inspiration is really my family. They just like given me not the blueprint per se, because a lot of it they gave me the foundation. The blueprint is when I started going to school and learning more as my parents was like, you gotta go to college. There is no is buts and maybe. They got three boys into college. I was the youngest, so all my older brothers went to college, graduated. One of them owns a gym now. So it's like it was like for me, it was like just seeing being the youngest and seeing everyone just excel, seeing how long it took them as well, kind of gave me the patience. But it was the my family was main inspiration for me and just like kind of just I guess ingrained into me without me even knowing. Like with the little things like the gum and like trying to just make my own money, even though I just didn't want to hear from my mom or like telling me you can't spend money on this, like you have to save it. I didn't want to hear that. So I was just like I'll just spend it on gum and invest it somehow. So I think it was beautiful how much family ingrains into you without you even knowing.
Those are some very, very beautiful answers. I loved every single one of them. Honestly, all of y'all have really touched on your cultural heritage already. And honestly, it's a great segue into my next question, which is basically, I mean, you have already, some of you guys have already mentioned your cultural background, but the whole question is, what is your cultural background and how has it shaped your approach to business? But if you've already established it, you can just do a quick tidbit on that and then just pivot into how has it shaped your approach to business and so on.
I'll start. I mean, I've already just said it, most of it. Being Dominican, my Caribbean culture has really pushed me forward, into like confidence, pushed me forward to having the entrepreneurship spirit. I was raised around a bunch of Dominicans, so as much as I left DR, I'm still in DR. If you come to Washington Heights, you'll see. A lot of the community was always enforcing like making your own business. Everything here is mostly Dominican owned for the most part. Even 181st, if you guys know, it's like pretty much like the shopping strip in Washington Heights, and most of it is owned by Dominican business owners. So their Caribbean culture of community, and then the culture of like just entrepreneurship in general has kind of like how I got here. Um, Subconsciously, because consciously I just wanted to be an athlete, but subconsciously it was like my family was pushing me to this entrepreneurship spirit. They just let me have my own journey. So I think that's where my culture comes in. I think a lot of Caribbeans come here for a better opportunity. I'm second generation, so first gen on my mom's side, second generation on my dad's, and so a lot of it was just like you got to go to college, you got to make sure you succeed, you got to make sure like a lot of pressures, but a lot of it built me for entrepreneurship because they also understand that if you want to be an entrepreneur, it will take patience, and we're here for you. And with my family, my family always made sure that you're not alone. So I think that's like the best part about it.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what he's saying, coming from a Caribbean background, like, or just coming from, I think, like, when you have to come from one place to another, I think it sets the tone of motion, right? Like, and it doesn't, I definitely see it a lot in the Caribbeans, a lot of folks that are from, Asia, Africa, right? Like, when you have to start with motion, like, you move from down south to New York, like, when your family has like an undertone of like motion, it definitely triggers you to like kind of, an object in motion stays in motion. So it's like you're always like striving for something more, and that's embedded. Funnily enough, my family, so I really grew up mostly on my mom's side. When my dad, like, when we immigrated, it was mostly my mom's side that came to US, and my dad's side kind of stayed in Jamaica. But it was so funny because she was just like, she didn't want me to do anything with entrepreneurship, right? Like, I think it was kind of twofold. They, while it was creating opportunities, they saw the inconsistency of it, right? They wanted me to, doctor, lawyer, nurse, engineer, like, the baseline. And I was originally in school to do accounting. So I started my higher education at Nassau Community College because I had this like goal. I was like, I'm not paying for school. There's really no reason for me to pay to school. I don't believe for school. I don't believe in it. Like, it just, so Nassau Community College, I went there for about a year and a half, and didn't have to pay. Then I was like, I reapplied to Baruch because Baruch was always like where I wanted to be. I wanted to major in accounting, and everyone was like so happy. I'm great at math. I love numbers. Like, it was just a perfect alignment. And once I got there, and I'm like, I actually love like business more. Like, I took a couple like economics class. I took a couple of like initial business classes, and I was like, that's where my true passion lies. And when I started discovering the New York City tech ecosystem, I realized that there was more like outside of school than there was inside. So around like my sophomore junior year, I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave this school thing behind. Like, I'm gonna drop out. Like, all the greats drop out. Mark Zuckerberg, and I was like, they did it. Why can't I? And then the reality had to hit. It is just like, my love, you are a little Black girl. They are not. And so, that's where the culture ties in. I was like, okay, maybe I need to have a little bit more of a foundation. So I decided to stay in school, but when I tried to switch my major to entrepreneurship at Baruch, as you know, entrepreneurship is in a business school, and you have to do like a whole bunch of stuff. And it would have made me have to stay in school like longer. And I was like, I don't want that either, because then I might run out of like financial aid and scholarships. So I was like, what can I do? So the gap that I found was I majored in business communications, which is in Wiseman. So I was able to finish the class, and then I was able to do the entrepreneurship lab while in school. And I was like, how can I leverage like school to allow me to have like the entrepreneurial experiences outside? So I was going to events and conferences and all the things. And, at first they weren't super supportive. And in order to combat that, I created this thing called Caribbeans in Tech and Entrepreneurship. So it's like this meetup group that I created back in like 2015. Because I'm like, if you don't want me to be doing this, well, I'm going to find other people, because I can't be the only Caribbean that wants to be in tech and entrepreneurship. And so tying in my culture to give me additional motivation was like a key moment. And I saw a lot of tech, engineers that were from, Grenada, Barbados, a lot of tech and startup founders. And I was like, oh, I found my people. And that gave me two insights of the fact that we can, there were Caribbeans that were kind of, I would say, modern day entrepreneurs, because I had only seen a lot of like Caribbean folks that were like traditional entrepreneurs. I'll say that. Yeah. So traditional entrepreneurs, like, Baker, Barbara, etc. And now I saw modern entrepreneurs that were tech founders, microbiologists, and they had their own like corporations and all these fancy things. And that bridged the gap for me in understanding that, oh, I didn't have to only be like a traditional entrepreneur. There were also people from my culture in this other space, and that gave me the motivation to keep going and like multiplying the space and like welcoming others. You're just like, oh, we couldn't, we wanted to see a space like this for so long, and now we have like the support. Because I think when I kind of showed my parents and my family like, hey, look, there's successful entrepreneurs that are also Caribbean in a lot of these fields, it's like, okay, maybe it's not as like crazy as it sounds. But yeah, so that's how like my culture connected to my entrepreneurial journey and how it impacted it, and how I kind of had to reignite and kind of rewrite the story of what like a Caribbean entrepreneur could look like.
Yeah, I will piggyback on that. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Sorry. I will piggyback on that. I think that as Georgie-Ann mentioned, when you come from the Caribbean, it's really you're figuring out how to make a way, right? My mom, I grew up mostly with my mom's side after my dad passed. But I'm very close to my father's side as well. My uncle just messaged me like, "Hi, my loving niece." But my who was I gonna say? My grandparents, oh, my mom grew up dirt poor. Like she didn't even get to go to high school. She did win a scholarship to go off to England for nursing school. Lucky for her. But to this day, she's like, I could have been a doctor. Even though her dad had his business, things are different in the Caribbean. So if you catch my flow. So her grandparents took care of her. Papa and Mama could barely read and write, but they took their vegetables. Like I said, I went to market and they made sure my mom had what she needed. And I tell her, you might have been poor, but you had a mule named Bula, whatever. You had a donkey. Like you had a little caddy back in the day, right? You had some things. You had your own bed while your siblings slept on the floor. Like she's bougie to this day. But the whole point of that is, she came from nothing. My father, he and his brothers, my uncles, they had to work because his dad was in Guyana mining gold and he got the gold rush and was kind of like, stuck on that while mom was home with five kids taking care of and trying to bake and do what she needed to do to keep her family together. And they had to go to Guyana and tell him, you need to come, as adults, come home and take care of house or what have you. So they always were in on my dad barely they were always like helping the family, and my dad didn't get to go to college either. I'm actually the first one to graduate from college. My mom was able to get her associates. I was the first one to get their bachelor's in my immediate family. And it's knowing that they came from nothing that kept me inspired, right? Because to imagine my two parents coming from this humble little country and then coming here and building an empire. When I say an empire, they have like four properties in Brooklyn and a brownstone. It's like in Bed-Stuy, mind you, right? It's like, wow, if they can do this, I can do anything. And my mom never she made sure she put me in the best schools, Philippa Scala, Brooklyn Tech, etc. But she never really told me, you must be a doctor, you must be this, da, da, da. She never did tell me you should be an entrepreneur either, but I watched how she moved because while she was a nurse, and went through many, ER, etc., different parts of nursing, she also took 4 years off while I was in high school so that she can just rest, which was interesting. I'm like, why are you here? When I would come home from school, like, why are you here? But she would actually be investing in the stock market. Like she started taking Wade Cook classes and unfortunately Trump's classes and other classes to really inform her decisions. And she was like she was skilling up as a day trader, and she did phenomenal. And it inspired me to get into finance. That's the whole reason why I got into finance. But that now being at Baruch and going through all of my experiences, the resilience that I had from my culture, from my upbringing, is what keeps me resilient to this day. As I mentioned, we've gone through closures in terms of, everybody else is able to open their store, but my store is in a mall, so I can't reopen. So now we have to be strategic and we have to think, how can we, still earn money and still amplify the brands that we have. And so, we have to pivot. Now, if I have a retail shop that's consignment, mainly. Now I'm moving more into wholesale for some, but I have so many 65 at least brands right now, right? If I were relying on retail alone, I'd be closed, right? I saw Century 21 leave. I saw Flying Tiger leave. We've seen so many big box retailers leave. And I'm still standing because it had to be strategic in that I'm doing consignment, therefore I'm not having a large overhead. I will say that my Baruch background in business has been so um, essential to my growth because there are so many things like Georgie-Ann had mentioned, a lot of entrepreneurs do not know. Resources, small business services, we managed the what is it called? The Business Solution Centers and the Workforce One Centers. And there are also company organizations like Local Development Corporation or business centers like Bach that people don't know of where they can get free resources and help. But anyway, as a business person, it helped me to be able to know one, how to pivot, how to problem solve. So now okay, we can't have people come in, but we can do custom printing. So that's how we started getting corporate gigs, right? And I learned the beauty of, my people, our people, Caribbean people in general, we're very loving, very relationship oriented, right? So I learned the beauty of building amazing relationships through my people and through my work. When I was working at the small business services, that first job, Hurricane Sandy Monitor, I had to work with all of the assistant commissioners across all 12 agencies at the time to help get New York City residents to help with the cleanup efforts. And some of the toughest assistant commissioners, people, the leadership would say, I don't know how you're going to get this person on board. And this is a 6 month, position for me. And I got all of the hard ones in because I learned relationship management. DSNY, Sam. How you doing, Sam? How are the kids? Da 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 da. Sam, Michelle, whatever you need, come on by. The hard ones. You hear me? So from that, I took that on forward with my businesses that I'm growing. And now I sit on the board for Downtown Brooklyn Partnership and for Brooklyn Women's Business Center Advisory Council, because I'm able to make these interesting partnerships with corporations and with the community in general. So that was one thing. The other thing is just really understanding business in the sense of people like to put the cart before the horse, if you understand what I mean. And I have always been like slow and steady, right? I focus on really, I don't know, I want to say I focus more on operations side and making sure that you have the things in place. I know people will take like these crazy risks and like, oh, like let's for example, and I'm gonna try to stay on task. For example, during the pandemic, I had a lot of friends that were opening stores in 2020 expanding, or you saw businesses expanding and those businesses closed, right? Because why are we taking this risk when we don't know what the hell is going on during this time frame? And I just managed through what I've experienced, knowing through my culture and through Baruch, just knowing how to really keep an eye on the needle and just make sure that you push at the right time and expand. I think it's more instead of thinking of running the race to win it quickly, you want to have longevity and you want to be able to make sure that you're on solid ground and you're making the right decisions. And sometimes we don't make the right decisions, but for the most part, I would say that just seeing from what I've experienced with my family and from what I've experienced through school and learned in just the practical world, you can keep your business going further, longer if you focus on just legacy and not quick turnaround. So I know that was long-winded. I hope it made sense, but I say all that to say I've learned a lot through my people and learned how to keep my doors open for this long. I'm hoping to make it to 10 years and beyond and slow and steady wins the race.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you. When I think about culture, I'm always reminded of my youth. When I wasn't an entrepreneur, I wasn't, involved in Ivy League studies, HBCU, et cetera. I always go back to the person who, was incarcerated, juvenile detention, just disruptive and lost. And then when I fast forward, I think about the ecosystem that I had around me to sort of mold me in a sense where, you know, that was who you were in your past, but now you have the opportunity, similar to your ancestors, similar to all of many Black inventors, et cetera. You have the opportunity to do something great and do something legendary, right? So I always look at that and I use that as my blank canvas to say that who I was as a kid is still who I am and who I embody today. Just more so from a business acumen standpoint, I've evolved in life. Sorry about that. I've evolved. I became, a successful entrepreneur. But most importantly, I never forget whenever I'm talking to at-risk youth, whenever I'm talking to inmates who are incarcerated behind the walls, or student audience similar to like, collegiate audience here at Baruch, I'm always reminded that when I think about how culture impacted my life, I always think about, risk taking in terms of, dealing drugs, understanding operations, understanding customer service. I want to say, and I hope this is the appropriate stage to say that, but I want to say some of the most successful entrepreneurs in Black culture are doing things right now that don't add value to the community. So when I look at studentpreneurs and I look at the skills that we sort of manifest into the lives of other people, I take pride in bringing those individuals from my specific culture back to the reality of how do you use those skill sets to be successful and not be disruptive in your community. Operations, customer service, supply and demand, some of those skills that you learn and live in a life of crime, right? But just imagine what life would be like in terms of culture if we were able to use those skills for the greater good, to invent the next AI agent, to invent the next, competitor for Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, when I think about culture as a whole, I think about how are we leveraging culture, but most importantly, how are we doing it in an entrepreneurial way where we're able to scale those skills and scale into a market or an unforeseeable market where we can look forward to 2030 and be able to say, this is what we did in order to pivot from who we are. So I always say my life in terms of, 1996, and then you look fast forward to 2026, everything in between was part of my entrepreneurial journey. And I always say, the EOF Professor of the Year award, receiving, something from Oxford University, all of that looks good. But the best recognition is when you go back to your community and you see people that you've supported, or you're speaking on a panel and someone in the audience is able to say, hey, I remember I heard his TED speech and it was something motivational that helped spark something in my entrepreneurial journeys. Those small chunks of recognition outweighs any award that's on paper. So when I think about entrepreneurship, I think about culture, and I sort of mesh the two together. I'm always reminded that I'm not just doing it for one specific culture. I'm doing it because at heart, I'm a global citizen, and I have the power to touch, move, and inspire every single continent in the world. And through action, right, being a man of action, I've done that in Saudi Arabia. I did it in Guyana. I did it, in Grenada at St. George's University, Saudi Arabia, South Africa. So I'm always reminded that culture is the pulse of everything that I do, because culture never gave up on me, even when my path wasn't as bright as it is today. So thank you for that question. Taye, when I think about culture, I'm very passionate about that, because culture is where majority of your consumers and your clients are, right? You have to figure out a way to tap into that 10%, 15%, or whatever percent you're aiming to turn into your target audience. But I'll end with this. Mark Cuban said it best. He said, clients and consumers and sales solve all or remedy all problems. If you don't know who your audience is, chances are you have not connected authentically with your culture.
That was very beautiful. I loved all your responses to that question. Um, Very Black and beautiful people talking and just saying some great things. So we're hitting about 15 to 14 minutes left for the two the 2 o'clock mark. So I'm gonna ask one little last quick question. I want you some more on the quicker side responses from our panelists, and I do want if there's any questions from the crowd, to just type your questions into the chat, and then if you have any, if anybody wants to support a question, if any question has more responses or like reactions next to it, I'll ask that one following this next little tidbit. So the last question I'll ask right now is, what is one piece of media you'd recommend we read slash watch slash listen to? Um, so just develop yourself, just whatever. It doesn't have to be develop yourself. It could be fun, whatever. So whatever you've recently interacted with, and then in the chat, I want you guys to just comment and ask a question, and then if you guys support each other's question with a reaction, we'll ask those questions forward.
Yeah. So one sec.
Go ahead,
Larry, you
Professor.
want to go?
Professor, you could go ahead.
No one stands higher than the queen. It's all yours.
He's so sweet. Thank you. Um, thank you, King. I would say my favorite show to watch right now, and I've been watching it for the last few years, The Men Who Built America on Prime. I don't know if you all have watched this. But it's so inspiring. And there's also the brands who built America, the brands that built America. So basically, it speaks of the journey of Rockefeller, Carnegie, JP Morgan. Has anyone ever seen this? Yes, no, you have to check it out. You will see how these innovators started. They saw a problem and they came up with a solution, and here we are, right? And then the brands who built America, my favorite episode, first episode, Costco and Walmart. I will tell you all now, Costco has been 10 toes down from day one, and Walmart has always been what Walmart is, right? In my opinion. Okay. And you will see when you watch this, you will be inspired by how Soul Price started Costco. Well, he started Price Club, I think it was, but it's his protege that started Costco. And short, I'll tell you really quickly, Walmart basically copied everything that they did, stole his ideas and whatnot, and to some degree, and he said it, publicly. And he tried to get Costco to just basically sell the business to him or come in with him. And Costco said, not Costco, Soul Price said, hell no, called his protege up and said, we should partner. They did. It became Price Costco, and then they dropped the price, and it was Costco. And Costco continues to have ethically, from what we know, and sound business that supports community and does right by the people, right? So that's one of the best reads that I have. And in Baruch, we had a strategy and strategic operations management textbook. I cannot remember the full name, but that was my holy grail for years. And I keep looking for it in my house, so I'm going to look for it online. But it's something that really kept me, thinking and inspired. There are other things that I can suggest, lots of books. I'll have a list that I'll send out to you all.
I'll jump in.
Thank you, Michelle. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Very cliche, but I love The Alchemist. I reread it all the time. There's just another book called Who Moved Your Cheese. It's just a skinny book. It looks like a kid's book, but it's great. And then anything that Adam Grant has written. So I'm a big Adam Grant fan. So he's written books like Think Again, The Originals, Hidden Potential. But his theme is just talking about, how simple ideas could become like bigger processes and trends, and just how to think about the work we do or don't do, or the actions we take and don't take. So I really love like psychology, like any topic that merges psychology and business into like a good story. I'll read all of it. I'm gonna definitely watch some of Michelle's recommendations. I don't watch enough TV, but yes, those are my favorites.
And similar to her recommendations, I posted it in the chat. It's a book called Don't Believe Everything You Think. Again, focuses on the psychology aspect of business, but more so it's overcoming the imposter syndrome and being able to focus more on becoming more self-aware, managing emotions, and figuring out ways to stop self-sabotaging yourself and teams. It's a very interesting read. A second read that I would definitely highly recommend as a top five would be Raising an Entrepreneur. And similar to the model that we're doing right now, sharing our entrepreneurial journeys from our adolescent years to our professional years, it focuses more on helping individuals understand how to help your child or your team achieve their dreams. I love focusing on how young people think, because if you don't develop while you're in high school, chances are you end up with a colleague or work or peer who behaves like a what? Like a child. So sometimes in order to understand the people around us, we need to go back and understand how teenagers think. So it's a great book, 99 stories from families who were able to become successful entrepreneurs. And most importantly, it gives you some of those small nuggets on how to help, other children, other young people, rising young professionals achieve their dreams. It's a very, very, very short paperback, but it's worth the time. And it's by Margot Benslow.
Yeah, medias that I've been reading Atomic Habits a lot, learning how the little things add up. Pretty much basis of the book is just like the little things that you do on a day-to-day basis add up long term. So that's something I really do really have been looking into. I'm looking at the list, and funny enough, I've read a lot of the list. The list that Michelle wrote in the chat is beautiful. Um, Really hands on to everything I've read. So, besides that, I think the biggest thing I've been reading right now is the Bible. I've been reading that religiously every day now, doing Bible studies as well. Well, if you believe in different religions, I think if you have the Quran or any religion that you believe in, I think reading that and stick to being faithful to that would really help you continue further in faith and having that confidence. And I do think I want to read Don't Believe Everything You Think. I really like that. I really think I like the title already because I don't believe everything I think. I think me being a young entrepreneur, also Gen Z, a lot of what's shown to our social medias is mostly false for the most part because we don't do our research. And so I don't really believe everything I think. I think social media, because a lot of my generation stuck on social media. I think a lot of us have to learn how to really look at something, don't believe it, but research it to make sure it's actually true and research it and then develop your own opinion and not have opinion of others uh, make you think a certain way. So I think a lot of my media right now is books, but on top of that, of course, I'm social media generation damn near. So I'm trying to understand, making sure that the facts that I do receive are fact checked. So for like people my age, please don't just believe everything you see. Uh, Really read, really research. Let's see, if you're on a news article, make sure that the content you're reading is left leaning or right leaning. That's really important. People don't understand that sometimes you can see certain words be changed throughout it. And I think that will probably be my medias, but like my best advice to engaging the social media, which is make sure that you actually do your research on it because it helps you in the long run and knowing what's actually true instead of just being falsified information.
And I just want to piggyback off of what Joel said. I 100% support. I want to, rather than just recommendation, I would like to challenge everyone in the audience to give up social media for like 30 days and replace it with some, if you can, because I know some of us, we use it for business purposes, but, track over to the Small Business Administration, the U.S. Small Business Administration website, and they have some really cool e-learning courses that are free. And once you reach the dashboard, you'll be able to take 14 sessions that focus on helping your organization or your company focus more on strategic marketing, things around accessing capital and developing a financial strategy, the entrepreneurial leadership, managing skills, et cetera. But it's a really, really, really cool website. The e-learning will really it will help you create habits in 30 to 60 days. And hopefully some of the skills you gain, you're able to leverage those into making your startup company better, or perhaps maybe giving you the encouragement and the confidence to go ahead and launch that company that you've been sitting on for some time now. So, Joel, thanks for mentioning that about the whole hyper marketing. It's awful, man.
I fight against it. As a Gen Zer myself, I fight against it. I don't know. People say I have an old soul for that, but I'm like, I really do dislike it so much.
Yeah, Spain and Australia just banned social media for 16. Well, I shouldn't say banned, but they have a hard stop on social media for kids 16 and under. I think that's the way forward, and I think we need to spend more time really tapping into panels like this and learning things that actually benefit the world and the greater good, as opposed to just things that are divisive.
Yeah, and to tie into that, just to one note on hearing that, I think it's like taking action. I think the biggest issue here that I see with like a lot of the material that folks are consuming, it keeps you in this like phase. And I'm rereading, listening to at least right now, Atomic Habits right now by James Clear, and he says like there's a differentiation between motion and action, where it's like in motion you're kind of ruminating, you're thinking about the thing, you're like doing activities that are related to the thing, but you're not actually doing the thing. So how do we get people to do the thing, right? All of you all are here because you're interested in some way, some shape, some form of entrepreneurship, right? I forgot what CEO stood for, but the word entrepreneurship is in there. Collegiate Entrepreneurship Organization. It came to me right after. But like, you have to just build a thing, and Baruch is the best place to build, right? There's so many resources. There's so many like people that are going to support you, because outside of this like ecosystem of Baruch, a lot of folks are going to think you're crazy and say, focus on this and do this, or like don't do it. But in Baruch, they're like, yes, let's do it. Let's bring it a part of your schoolwork, right? Like there's so much support, which is not normal. So I just want to acknowledge that how not normal it is. So take advantage of it. Leverage the fact that you're a student. Talk, email the biggest CEO or company, hey, I'm a student. They love that. I'm a student. Can I listen to you or be in this session or volunteer for this event? Like leverage it as much as you can, because nowadays I'm not a student no more. But when I went back for my master's, you best believe I was like, hey, I'm a student. Can I? And this was like a year ago. I was like, hey, I'm a student. And just like leveraging that like student ticket, it opens up a lot of doors, especially if you want to try different things. Can I intern for you? Can I volunteer? Can I work at this? Like so much is out there. Just do the thing, not just watch other people do it. And with that, I do have to jump, but I put my LinkedIn in the chat. I'm so happy that I was able to be here with you all today. Thank you so much, everyone. Keep going. And if you ever need to, want to talk about an idea, I'm always open and happy to help my fellow entrepreneurs and CEOs. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
On that note, thank you, Georgie-Ann. That is our 2 p.m. mark. So I want to just thank you guys again, just for all being here, joining us. The conversations and advice and stories were honestly very, very, very important to hear, and just to ruminate in this Black History Month, just to hear all these success stories. Honestly, you guys are definitely all success stories, and I'd love to see where you guys go, and I'm definitely inspired to just move forward. Atomic Habits, I definitely got to read that. Just got to keep moving on. And so thank you guys again. This is CEO Black History Month panel, my fault. It ended up being a podcast, but yes, thank you guys again.
And if I may, I say something real quick. Thank you guys for today again from CEO as well. It's really been an honor to have you all. It's incredible for me to see. I mean, as an aspiring entrepreneur, I love to see how we all have different routes, but yet we're all sharing kind of like the same path. And yeah. I loved it. It was a beautiful conversation, and it's really been a pleasure.
If there's any like last thoughts, you panelists can share.
Sorry, I was trying to drop things in the chat for you all. So it's been such a pleasure. I always love coming back to Baruch and just sitting and sharing and hearing from everyone, and just knowing that you all are the future and you're going to do amazing things because you're Baruch students. So it's a given, right? But I want to encourage you to visit Verizon Digital Readiness program. What is it? Verizon, you've seen it, right? Verizon has a digital readiness platform. And if you do have a business, you have the opportunity to win a $10,000 grant. If you're looking for funding, Hello Skip is another platform that they aggregate grants and share. And please check out the New York City's Department of Small Business Services. Like the Professor said, Goodin said, SBA, that's the federal government, but also right here in New York City, we have small business services. So you can definitely check them out. They have workshops all the time for free. And the last thing I will say is my brand, Yes, I Am. I called it Yes, I Am because I am are the two most powerful words for what you put after shapes your reality. I learned how to write down everything I wanted to accomplish while at Baruch in my little journal, and everything came to pass. Even, traveling abroad and da da da, all of it came to pass. But what you speak about, you bring about. So I've manifested everything up to this point, and you can do the same. The world is your oyster. Get you some pearls, okay? Thank you so much. Pleasure. And I wish you all the best. Please stay connected. Please feel free to follow me or connect with me. Cadore Advisory Group, info at Cadore Advisory Group is my email, or, the team can share with you my other email, info at thespotnyc.com. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. Bye, guys.
Uh, last. Oh no, I don't think Professor gets to say goodbye, but I'm still gonna be here if anybody has questions. But as you know, I just graduated in May. Uh, it's for you guys. I just want to say like just have faith. Like just believe in yourself. Like it really is the little things and the main thing telling yourself as you look in the mirror in the morning or whatever your ritual is. Make sure that you at least say to yourself that you believe in you. Because that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur. It has to really take faith in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to build, and accepting that you don't know everything and you have to learn. And it takes a team, and it's building a team probably the most important part about entrepreneurship, in my personal opinion, as I'm building my team, just graduating. So I would say just have faith. Make sure that you like keep your brain always on the swivel. Be prepared to just move in different directions. It's never gonna be straight. It's always gonna be something different coming along, especially as an entrepreneur. So just definitely have faith and just keep moving forward. I'm gonna stick around. I have another 15 minutes if anybody has questions, but that's my outro.
And guys, mine is very, very short. I dropped my email information in the chat. So feel free to reconnect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me via email. Yes, before the questions come, I do support students in terms of, startup coaching, whatever you need. I'm always a yes if my schedule allows. And again, challenge 30 days, give up social media, replace trolling, replace, posting, etc. Replace it with something that elevates your life and elevates those around you. Okay, that's my challenge to you all. Again, Tay, John, Rosalind, all of you guys, thank you again, and I look forward to hearing more about the startup companies that are coming out of your department. Big things to come in 2026. Take care, guys.
Thank you
Thank you.
again, Larry. Is there any last thoughts? We can kind of just talk at this point, guys. I mean,
Um, I mean, I guess not. And does anybody have like any questions for Joel? Like maybe we can discuss some things, some thoughts. Nope.
Yeah. I would just like to say thank you, Joel, for coming through.
That's valid,
It's
yeah.
been great what you
Big
did
Joel,
for
Big
Baruch.
Joel.
Yeah, man. I've been hearing a lot about you, man. Like I was so excited to get to know you more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been so busy. I apologize for earlier. But
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like
I'm
it's.
happy to be here. Happy to
Mhm.
be here, honestly. I'm glad that I'm able to still give some knowledge while I'm gone. Maybe come back. We'll see. I'm probably not getting a master's, but
Yeah.
Well, you
definitely
never know.
will be around.
Hmm.
Yeah. Actually, one of our startups is in the clothing industry this year.
Right,
So
Cadore, right?
uh
No, wait.
that's one. We're building